So one day, this woman steps outside and there's a package on her doorstep. And she's like, oh, it was sent by someone in my family. And she goes to pick it up and the package explodes in her face. Now, this woman, her name is Sandra. And Sandra works at this restaurant. She's a server and she's good at the job. And she keeps her bills paid. But one day, all changes when this guy came in and he sits on her section. Because they normally have a section where you serve. So the guy sat on her own section. And his name is Steven. So Sandra takes Steven's order and she politely brings him his food and just normal stuffs. And the next day, Steven comes back and he sits on her section again. And the day after, he comes back again and again and again and again. And every day from then on, each time he comes, he sits in Sandra's section. And she doesn't give him any special attention because he's just a customer. She just takes his order like anyone else. But each time he comes in, afterward, he goes home and he fantasizes about Sandra. About asking her out, like, oh, this lady is fine, I want to ask her out. Why Sandra goes home and she doesn't think about Steven at all, like, of course, she finds him weird, coming every day. Sometimes he even comes twice a day. Like, he comes in and he sits on her section and he orders food. But one day, Steven gets a little courage and he looks at himself in the mirror and he's like, today is the day I'm going to ask her out, you know. So he shows up to the restaurant like normal and he sits in her section again and eat like normal. But this time, instead of asking Sandra for bills, he's like, hey, you wanna go see movies sometimes? And Sandra, she doesn't know what to say. She's like, I'm flattered, but no, thank you. And from that moment on, it's all awkward. And poor Steven, his feelings are all hurt, so he leaves and Sandra thinks, well, alright, maybe he will finally stop coming. But that's not what happened. The next day, he shows up again and he sits in her section like normal. And he now starts acting weird, just staring at her the whole time while she walks. For hours, it's really uncomfortable for her. And then the day after that, he comes in again and again and again and again and again. And each time, he just sits there and watches her while she walks. And of course, this really starts to creep out Sandra. So one day, she decides she had enough. So she tells her manager, and her manager goes up to Steven and he's like, alright buddy, go and sit in a different section. She can't serve you anymore. You're creeping her out. Imagine. So Steven does what he said. He sat in another section. But even in that section, he just sits there and he stares at Sandra the whole time. He even stares at her from across the room. Like he stretches his face and he stares at her from across the room. He takes any opportunity he has to interact with her, like any opportunity he has, he waves his hand, while Sandra tries her best to avoid him. Now, at this point, deep down, Steven is pissed off, like, how dare she reject a nice guy like him and make him move to another session. So then, aside from work, he starts following her. So Sandra is paranoid now and she thinks he's following her. But she's not totally sure because she don't have proof. But then one day, she wakes up and she goes out to her car and she finds that someone has left her car tired. Someone has slashed her tire. Immediately, she knows it was Steven. Because Steven was following her yesterday. And she reports it to the police. But unfortunately, she has no evidence that it was him. A few days later, she's at home, lying on her couch, her chair. And she hears something outside and she looks out the window. And sure enough, she sees someone in all black, a black hoodie, slashing her tire again. This guy don't want to give up. He say it's by force. And she can't see the guy's face, but she knows it's Steven. She can tell by the way he walks, because she has seen him walking in and walking out. So she set up a surveillance camera outside her house a few days after that incident happened. And a few days after that, she's now driving to work. And then suddenly her car starts vibrating. And now she goes home and checks that her security camera footage. And she sees the same guy from before in all black. But this time, he's not cutting the tire. This time, he's pouring water on the gas tank. So the next day, she's at home. And she happens to look out of her window. And she catches the same man outside, messing with her gas tank again. But this time, she catches it early enough to call 911 while the crime is taking place. So then, boom, the police shows up and they arrest Steven. and they charge him with destruction of property, and he's found guilty and is sentenced to 6 months in prison. Very, very good. But you guys think it's over for Stephen? Nah. Why he's in prison? He started planning the revenge of when he comes out, what he's going to do. I mean, he's pissed and angry, like, how dare she reject him and get him locked? So after he's out of prison, he starts researching, and he log all of Sandra's friends and family and their contact information into his laptop. And then he goes and he buys a manual on how to build a pipe bomb. And then he gather up all the supplies he need, and he start putting the pipe bomb together piece by piece. So about 2 months later, he's finally happy he have created a bomb. And so he packaged the bomb up, and he goes on a mail, and he makes it look as if it's one of her relatives that sent the package to her. So one early morning, when the moment is right, he quietly placed the neatly wrapped package bomb on her doorstep, and he sneaks away. Shortly after, Sandra steps aside and she sees the package at her feet, and she's like, oh cool, someone sent me a package. And then she reaches down to pick it up, and at that moment she got her hand on it, boom, it exploded on her face, and sadly it kills her instantly. And now the police knows that Stephen have been stalking Sandra, and he's immediately suspected as number one. So then they get a warrant and they search his house, and in his trash they find out he's been building a manual bomb. They saw some small pieces and some pipe and some manual, and they find the details and every note of about Sandra family that he have logged in his laptop, and they arrest him again, and here is his mugshot, and he is found guilty and is sentenced to life imprisonment. Follow for more.